This is an update on a Craftsman 5-horse front tine rototiller. And here's the shaft I rebuilt. Let me get some light on it. This, you can see there's some imperfections, and I filled those with JB weld. But I basically built it up. You can see a couple different layers of washers I put on the end and welded it up. This is about half the size that it shows now. And then, of course, I've got another video on me milling it down on my drill press. And it wasn't terribly precise, but it gets me close enough to run it. It's not going to really run that fast. So, and then the bearing on the input side, you can see the JB weld. I just filled it in, and I'm just going to try it. The bearings I picked up for it are oil-light bearings. It had needle bearings in before. It took me a long time to get all the needle bearings cleaned out. And that grease that they run in these things is really gooey. It really takes a lot of time to... So here you can see the inside and the bronze bushing that I pounded in from the outside. And what I did was I picked up, I hope this stays up on there, I picked up some bearings that have a flange on them, and these are 1 inch long. Oh, there goes a set of gears. They're 1 inch long. Inside diameter is 5/8, outside is 13/16. So if you're looking for those bushings to put in, that's the dimensions that fit. And they pound in real nice and tight into the housings for the shaft. And then of course I put greasers in it. So I'm going to give it a little grease every time I fire this thing up. What do we do here? Oh, I think it survived. This goes right here. So that's the repairs. I'm going to start putting it back together. I did the same thing on this side. You can see. And I got a deep grease zerk so it runs into the bronze, so it captures the bronze bearing. And I had to actually grind a little off on the inside. So, and then I captured I glued the gasket back down with silicone. Cleaned it up real good. I actually used starting fluid because it dries out so fast. So I picked up some high temp. I like using high temp RTV for fireplace chimney applications. It seems like it has a real nice stick to it, and it's nice to work with. It's expensive, but I pick it up, I use it, I like it. So it's all cleaned up, and I'm gonna assemble it. Got a little Coleman garage coffee going here. I love the old Colemans. And I actually had to clean it, so I'm actually just perking hot water now to kind of get the soap out of it. I hate soapy tasting coffee. A few tips on getting this put back together correctly. Maybe this will save you a little time. The fork here that moves up down on the detent ball, make sure that the little piece that actually engages between these two gears is down to the, let's see, in the selector side of the machine, it'll be down towards the case end. Then it took me a little while to figure this out, but the flat washers go on this shaft, and this is kind of just an idler, and then this one. I had it on here, and that's not right because there's a built-in washer in the other side of the housing that captures the drive for the tiller. And then the only other thing is the smaller portion of the gear, because this is one gear here, and so the skinnier one points down to the outside of the case. Otherwise, this fatter one will start dragging on. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see this, but it just drags on a gear that's real close to the edge of the case down in here. You can just barely see it. Anyway, it all fit together good. Everything turns smoothly. It shifts smoothly. So I'm going to go ahead and load it up with grease. I'll show you. I'll get set up and I'll show you me putting some grease in it. I'll try. It's going to be messy, but I'll see if I can record it too. Just for fun. That'll be kind of a fun thing. I picked up some of this Lucas Red and Tacky number 2. That's what I'm going to put in there. The grease that came out of it, I don't know what it was, but it was really, really sticky. This is pretty good stuff, so it went for about $7 a tube. Of course, I live up in sticks, so everything's expensive up here. So we'll get that set up, and I think we're ready to button this thing up. Well, based on the amount of grease I took out of there, I put about that much back in. This is 2 tubes, so I did buy 3 tubes, but the 3rd tube is not here, so I'm gonna just go ahead and put it together like this. You know, if you really wanted to do a good job on this repair, I would think about putting grease zerks on the housings, you know, on these bottom shafts here, and maybe even on these axle shafts for the wheels. So, but the problem with these this input shaft that burned up was there was really no way for lubrication to get back up there once it kind of worked its way down as the thing ran. So I've got the grease zerks on that one now, so we'll see how that works out. But this is about as far as I'm going to go as far as lubrication. So I guess it'll have to do. I don't really want to spend more money on the lube for this thing. I guess if a guy had to, although you wouldn't be able to just smear it around much, but you could get more lube in just by boring a hole in the housing and running a grease zerk in there and just pumping tubes of cheap grease in there. I can see where that would actually work, so I'll show you when I get it buttoned up.